the Chicago Bears versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, here's the thing about the Chicago Bears. Obviously, since going back to Trubisky, he's now 6-3 as a starting quarterback this season after the loss to Green Bay. New Orleans, Drew Brees. Look, the New Orleans Saints, I said this last year about the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco 49ers were not healthy last year until like week 15 of the NFL season. They weren't healthy, and they still went to, they were good. I think they were, what were they, the number 1 seed, number 2 seed, something like that. No, number 2. I don't know, one of them. And then they went to the Super Bowl. New Orleans this year has not been healthy since week 1. Mike Thomas goes down with the ankle injury. Then Kamara was banged up around the time Thomas came back. Thomas came back, and then he's out again. This team has not been healthy. We'll see if Kamara can come back, but we'll get some running backs back for the New Orleans Saints. And Mike Thomas should be back, Michael Thomas. This New Orleans Saints team is as loaded as they've been since week 1 of the NFL season. Like, this is the best version of the Saints team we're going to get, assuming a Kamara can go. And that's not a healthy assumption because he actually tested positive. It wasn't one of those contact things. He might not be available for the game. We'll see. But, dude, the Saints coming in are the strongest they've been all year. But the Saints have kind of put up some duds in the playoffs in recent years. Most notably, in my opinion, last year, losing to Minnesota in the first game that they played. So I don't know what we're going to get, man. Let me just get to the fantasy football stuff. I will say, the Bears, they are running the ball. A little bit of a scare with Montgomery yesterday, but he did come in and, actually finish the drive out where he got injured. Trubisky, to me, especially in daily fantasy, start him. Montgomery, I don't like this matchup. I never like running backs. It's not my anti-Montgomery stuff, but I really just never like running backs against New Orleans generally. Allen Robinson, it took him a while to get a target yesterday, I think, but I think he'll be back in the swing of things. Actually, I like that Trubisky wasn't featuring Allen Robinson earlier. It shows a little bit of growth for crying out loud. And Kmet, I think, has a start grade as well. Now, that could be, revenge factor, Jimmy Graham, New Orleans Saints. Maybe Jimmy Graham gets the touchdown, but I think one of these tight ends gets a touchdown this week. My bet would be on Kmet, but you never know. Now, New Orleans, Breeze, I do not have as a start. I have Kamara if he can go as a start. If not, I don't care. I'm going to go with Murray. I think he's definitely a start-worthy player. Michael Thomas, I think, will be there. But, dude, I'm looking at these projections. When I look at the projections and look at touchdowns and everything, they're pretty darn even, between Chicago and New Orleans. I don't think this is a walkover for the Saints. But why don't you give me your thoughts on this game, David?
Well, they played earlier this year, which has been my theme throughout the episode. I've been looking at. That's what I care about most. Why would we not care about that most? So when they played earlier this year, it was week 8, and New Orleans won 26-23. So it was a tight game when they played the first time, but there's a little bit of skepticism to be able to use these numbers accurately to predict this game because, one, Nick Foles started that game and played that game. So it's going to be a different offense with Foles than Trubisky. But in that game, let's just look at what they did with Foles. Montgomery had 21 attempts, 89 yards, no touchdowns, which kind of is where you need
21 and 89 against the Saints is pretty damn good, I got to say.
That's good, but they kept him out of the end zone, which is really what we care about for fantasy here. And he only had 2 receptions for 16 yards, so he wasn't really heavily involved as a receiver. Nick Foles, 41 attempts, 28-41, 272, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. We'll see if Trubisky can replicate those numbers, perhaps do better. I'm not sure. In that game, Robinson had no issue with Foles. He had 6 for 87 and a touchdown. Mooney had a good game, 5 for 69 and a touchdown. Anthony Miller, 8 for 73. Again, this might have been a Nick Foles thing. It might have been the scheme thing where this is how they wanted to attack the Saints. I'm not entirely sure which. In that game, you talked about the tight ends. It wasn't very pretty the first time because Jimmy Graham, 2 for 13, and Kmet 1 for 2. So combined 3 for 15. It's nothing. It's a dud. On the other side, New Orleans, they didn't have Michael Thomas in this game, so I'm not sure how much the numbers apply in this matchup as well. But not for nothing, this is how it played out. Breeze, 41 attempts, 31-41, 280, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So he didn't have problem passing the ball even without Michael Thomas. So he could be sneaky this year. I know the Bears are known to have a good defense, a good pass defense. If he put up 282 touchdowns, no picks without Michael Thomas, it would indicate the ceiling might be pretty high with Michael Thomas there. assuming Kamara plays as well. Kamara had 9 receptions for 96 yards the first game. Maybe some of it had to do with MT being out, but still you're going to expect them to get him 6+ receptions if he plays. He ran well too, 12 for 67. Latavius Murray was non-existent, 8 rushing attempts for 17 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 14 yards, but don't get cute and use Latavius Murray anywhere. I would be avoiding him.
Well, unless Kamara is out, just based on volume, but yeah,
out,
I wouldn't get. I agree with you there. Don't get cute and like replace, put Murray in instead of whatever. Let's Taysom Hill's a quarterback, but that's not going to happen.
Jared Cook had a good game the first game, 5 for 51 and a touchdown. Traquan had 5 for 43. Again, that was without Michael Thompson. It might have even been without Emmanuel Sanders as well, because I don't see Sanders here on the stat sheet. So I assume he was out for that game as well.
It's going to be an interesting one. Let me hit you with the line here. This might surprise you. Chicago plus on the road against the Saints, 9.5. They're getting 9.5 points against the Saints. What do you think?
They lost by 3 the first game.
With Foles.
I don't think their defense is that bad that they're going to get beaten by 9 points. 10, I just don't see it. So give me the Bears quite easily here. That's a pretty easy decision for me to make.
Yeah, computer projections for me is Chicago 27, New Orleans 34. I do see this more as a touchdown game. When I wrote down the score, I actually wrote down New Orleans 27, Chicago 22. So I'm gonna
9.5. I feel like I got.
That's a lot,
bet,
man.
$5 on that. So.
Yeah. I mean, I like it.
I like that bet there to bet on Chicago covering 9.5. That's a lot. You think that'll come down?
I really don't know. I bet you it'll go up. I bet it'll go up. Because the Bears, what did they finish? Finished what? 8-8 was it? I don't know what their record is, but people will look at that. I don't really care so much about record. I care about how the teams are playing coming into the playoffs. And I did say at the start of the show that New Orleans, if I did a power rankings, if this was week 18 of the NFL season, I was doing power rankings, I would say the Saints and the Bills are playing the best football today. And I said at the start of this segment that the Saints are going to be at their healthiest. I do think the Saints win, and I don't think they have particular trouble in winning. But 9.5 is a lot to cover, especially a team that can play defense.
Playoff football too.
Yeah,
you expect them to battle.
Yeah, I'm going to take Chicago. Trubisky, has taken this team to the playoffs. 2 out of 3 years, out of the last 3 years. Now, you could make the argument, of course, that the Bears' defense had something to do with it, but in Chicago, they're playing better football. They're probably playing their best football of the season. So the Saints, even though I think they're playing their best football of the season, it's not a runaway to me. Like, if I'm the Saints, I would rather be playing a Los Angeles Rams, golf situation notwithstanding. The Rams, to me, their offense is sputtering. They're just not playing great football. Honestly, no, I would not want to play Russell Wilson. I was going to say maybe Seattle, but no, I wouldn't want to do that. So Chicago, it's not the worst matchup in the world, but I don't think it's 9.5. I think this game should be 7.5. Make people think about whether or not they want to lay more than a touchdown. You're giving me 2 more points on top of that. I would have set the line. Let me put it this way. I would have set the line at 7.5, and I would have bet on Chicago at 7.5. So when you're talking about 9.5, I'll take that. New Orleans wins safely. Last game of the week, which is basically a sequel to what we saw in Week 17. Well, maybe not a sequel because we had some key cast members missing in the first one. We had